$60,000. That number could buy you a decent BMW, cover a year of tuition at a private university, or serve as a down payment on a house in most American cities. Now picture that same number staring back at you from your credit card statements, split across 4 or 5 different cards. All of them charging you 22, 24, 27% interest. You open your banking app, and your stomach drops. Because you've done the math in your head, and realize that over $1,000 a month goes straight to interest, while your balances barely move. That treadmill under your feet keeps tilting steeper, and nobody seems willing to show you where the stop button is. Here's the thing most people won't tell you about climbing out of $60,000 in credit card debt. There is no single best way. I know that is not the sexy answer, and I know you clicked on this hoping I'd hand you one clean strategy, one magic key, but the honest truth, and this is what I keep coming back to, after looking at the research, talking to financial counselors, and running the actual numbers, is that the right strategy depends entirely on who you are, what your life looks like right now, and how your brain handles pressure. So instead of pretending there is one answer, I'm Aisha, and I'm going to lay out every serious option in front of you, with real numbers, real trade-offs, and zero BS, and then you decide. Let's start with the one everybody's heard of, because a very loud man on the radio has been shouting about it for 20 years. The debt snowball, Dave Ramsey's signature method, works like this. You line up all your debts from smallest balance to largest. And look, the psychology behind this actually holds up. A 2016 study out of Boston University, published in Harvard Business Review, found that people who knocked out small balances first were measurably more likely to eliminate their total debt. That dopamine hit of seeing a zero balance on a statement is real, and your brain rewards you for it in ways that sustain motivation over months and years. But here is where it gets complicated at $60,000. Say you've got 5 cards. One carries a $2,000 balance at 18%. Another sits at $8,000 with 24% interest. A third holds $12,000 at 22%. Then there is $15,000 at 26%. And the biggest one lands at $23,000 with a 20% rate. The snowball approach knocks out that $2,000 card first, which feels amazing in the moment. That $15,000 card at 26% though, keeps hemorrhaging money every single month while you work your way up to it. Over the full life of your repayment, the snowball could cost you thousands more in interest, compared to attacking the highest rate first. And on 60 grand, that gap isn't a rounding error. We're talking about the difference between owning a used Honda Civic and having nothing left over. The alternative goes by the name debt avalanche. Same general structure, but instead of targeting the smallest balance first, you pour everything into the highest interest rate card, while paying minimums on the rest. Mathematically, this path saves you the most money. Full stop. If you're the kind of person who can stay disciplined for 18 months, while barely seeing your biggest balance budge, this approach is your move. But if you're being honest with yourself, and you know you'll lose steam 3 months in and start stress spending again, then the mathematically perfect plan becomes worthless in practice. Ramsey puts it this way, and I actually agree with him on this one. He says personal finance is 80% behavior and 20% head knowledge. That ratio might land a little dramatic, but the core idea holds. No, let's talk about the option almost nobody covers on YouTube. And honestly, that frustrates me because it might be the most practical path for a lot of people watching this right now. A debt management plan, or DMP, runs through nonprofit credit counseling agencies affiliated with the National Foundation for Credit Counseling. The way it works is you sit down with a certified counselor, often for free or close to it, and they examine your whole financial picture before contacting your creditors to negotiate lower interest rates on your behalf. Those rates often drop from 22 or 25%, all the way down to 6, 7, or 8%. And you make one single monthly payment to the agency, which distributes it across your creditors on $60,000. This is where the treadmill metaphor really clicks. Remember that incline getting steeper and steeper with no relief in sight. A DMP is like someone finally pressing the button. That brings it back to something your legs can actually handle. Instead of over $1,000 a month vanishing into interest, the majority of your payment starts chipping away at your actual balance. Here is what the math looks like in practice. At 8% interest over 5 years on $60,000, total interest comes in around $13,000 to $15,000. Now compare that to staying on your current cards at 22% and paying $1,500 a month, where you'd hand over close to $50,000 in interest. across nearly 6 years. That gap between the two approaches lands around $35,000. And that kind of money changes the entire shape of your life. One trade-off to know about is that you can't use your credit cards while you're enrolled in the plan, which, for a lot of people, turns out to be helpful rather than restrictive. Setup fees stay under $75. Monthly fees run about $25 to $50. And while the plan does appear on your credit report, the impact falls far below what settlement or bankruptcy would leave behind. And speaking of settlement, let's go there, because I know some of you have seen those ads promising you can wipe out your debt for pennies on the dollar. Debt settlement can work in certain situations, and sometimes you can negotiate a lump sum payment of 40 to 50 cents on the dollar, which on $60,000 would mean paying around $24,000 instead of the full amount. But oh my God, the risks on this one are rough. For-profit settlement companies like National Debt Relief or Freedom Debt Relief charge 15 to 25% of your enrolled debt as their fee. And on $60,000, that translates to $9,000 to $15,000, walking out the door before you see any benefit. These companies instruct you to stop paying your creditors entirely, which tanks your credit score, triggers relentless collection calls, and can even result in lawsuits. And this is where it gets worse. For a lot of people who don't see it coming, the IRS considers forgiven debt over $600 as taxable income. So if $36,000 gets wiped away, you could owe roughly $8,000 in taxes, depending on your bracket. Add the settlement amount to the company's fee, and that tax hit, and the total lands around $44,000. Yes, that is still less than the original $60,000, but your credit lies in ruins for years, and you spent months getting harassed by collectors while it played out. That treadmill didn't just get steeper, it threw you off the back entirely. Can you negotiate directly with creditors yourself and skip the settlement company's fee altogether? Some people pull this off, especially on accounts that have already gone to collections. But it demands confidence, persistence, and a willingness to sit through some very uncomfortable phone conversations. Quick pause here. If this is actually helping you think through your options more clearly, hit that subscribe button. The algorithm shows this to more people when you engage. And there are a lot of folks sitting at their kitchen tables right now, staring at credit card statements and feeling completely alone in it. You subscribing might put this video in front of one of them. Alright, the option nobody wants to bring up, bankruptcy. I'm not going to sugarcoat this, or treat it like some kind of moral failing, because it isn't one. Bankruptcy is a legal tool that exists for a reason, and sometimes it is the smartest move on the board. Chapter 7. Can wipe out $60,000 in credit card debt entirely, if you qualify based on the means test, which compares your income against your state's median. The process wraps up within 3 to 6 months. Filing fees sit around $338. And attorney costs run between $1,000 and $3,000. That discharge stays on your credit report for 10 years. Chapter 13 operates differently by setting up a 3 to 5 year repayment plan based on what you can actually afford. And it remains on your credit report for 7 years instead of 10. For someone earning a steady income who wants to repay what they can, but needs breathing room from creditors while doing it, Chapter 13 can be the right call. And here is the part most people miss entirely. When they think about bankruptcy, your credit score can start recovering faster than you'd expect. Some people reach the mid-600s within 2 years of a Chapter 7 discharge, which isn't stellar, but also isn't the permanent mark most people imagine it to be. Compare that timeline to spending 5 years inside a debt settlement program with collections and missed payments dragging your score down month after month. And the math sometimes favors the option that feels most extreme. So, where does all of this leave you? 5 real paths sit in front of you right now. The snowball gives you motivation through quick wins. The avalanche saves you the most in pure math. The DMP offers structured relief with dramatically lower interest rates. Settlement provides a risky shortcut that trades credit damage for a reduced balance. And bankruptcy acts as a reset button when the other options can't carry the weight. My honest take. And I mean this, if I were sitting across from you right now at that kitchen table, I'd tell you to book a free consultation with an NFCC affiliated credit counseling agency before you commit to anything else. Let a professional examine your specific situation, your income, your rates, your balances, every piece of it, before you lock in a strategy. That single conversation could save you tens of thousands of dollars and years of your life. The treadmill you're on right now was built to keep you running. Minimum payment structures? Compound interest. The way statements are formatted to make your balance feel permanent. None of that happened by accident. But you can change the speed. You can bring that incline back down. And, yeah, you can step off entirely, if that is what your situation calls for. So here is what I want to know in the comments. And I genuinely read these. Which of those 5 options are you leaning toward right now? And what is the one specific thing holding you back from starting? Drop your answer below. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And I'll see you in the next one.